It's all going to be good. So again, I'm going to start a class here in just a second. I'm going to let this stay rolling here, but get yourself ready for a level 1 flow class. Okay, so I've got all my accoutrements. I've got my block here. If you've got a yoga block, great. You might want to use it. Maybe not. It's not absolutely necessary, but whatever. I've got my bells. I've got my water bottle and my clarinet. So I think we should be ready to go here, everybody. All right, Jennifer's in the house. Great to have you here. Okay, so I think we're ready to roll here. All right. So I'm going to officially start right now. Everybody, welcome. This is my first class teaching here with Mosaic Yoga, and I'm thrilled to be amongst this stellar group of teachers and so humbled by people, namely Public Coffee, who's given us this beautiful space that we can work with. And I'm grateful for the technology that allows us to be able to stay connected live, even if we're not in person during these crazy times. I'm so happy to be here and at least be able to live stream with y'all, where you can be doing this in your underwear, in the front room, whatever, and you can have your dog involved with your yoga practice and your cat and all that kind of stuff. So this is phenomenal. And I'm really happy to be here. Today is a level 1 flow class. And what we're going to do essentially is we're going to go through a full product of our yoga practice, and we're going to do a kind of a workup to peak posture and do a nice slow cool down as we open up. So welcome. This is a level 1 class. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Let's listen to body, mind, and spirit as we go through this so we feel comfortable with all of our comfortable limitations. And let's open up to see what's possible. I want to start in a comfortable seated pose, everybody. And before we do much, in fact, I'm going to even sit up on a block. If you've got a block or a cushion, you may want to do that. Sitting up on a block gives just a little bit of space here in the hips. Set thumb and first finger together, and let's give ourselves a moment to just start off with a couple rounds of Ujjayi breath. Into the nostrils, out through the nostrils. Sometimes when starting practice, it's nice to just give yourself a sigh once or twice out your mouth. And then get going again with your Ujjayi breath if you've let that go. So let's open up our shoulders to start, okay? So this is like some pre-yoga practice movement. You're gonna reach your arms up toward the sky. Bend or turn your right palm so the palm faces behind you, and then bring your hand back behind. Put your left palm up to your elbow and just push your elbow up into your hand, push your hand back into your elbow. And as you do this, your back's going to naturally arch a little bit. So try to draw your sitting bones back down into your yoga mat, back down into the block or whatever you're sitting on. Take a couple rounds of deep breath here. And then as you do so, after a couple of deep breaths, your right hand's going to hold on just behind your left ear, this little knobby part of your skull. And as you hold on to that thing, you're going to kind of pull your head back in your hand and lean over to the side, reaching your left arm off to the side. Let your left shoulder drop a little bit. Give yourself a couple rounds of deep breath here. Stretching open your neck. Keep your head where it is, but then slide your hand to the underside of your head and push your head back up to neutral. Okay, now raise your left arm to the sky, turn your palm. This is external rotation, so your thumb points out, your pinky finger points in. Bend your elbow so that your left palm comes back, kind of right on top of your shoulder blade. Put your right hand to left elbow. Push your left hand up into, or your left elbow up into your right hand, and then do a gentle push down. Draw your tailbone down into the floor as your head pulls back gently into your forearm. Couple rounds of full breath here. And after 3 or 4 of those long breaths, then you're going to hold just behind your right ear as your head tilts to the right, head tilts to the left. Your right arm drops down slightly toward the floor for a gentle little neck stretch as we open up. Now, as your head pulls back into your hand, it's a kind of mechanism by which your chest can open. And from there, you're going to draw your tailbone back down into the floor, back down into whatever you're sitting on, be that mat, cushion, block, whatever. Keep your head where it is, put your hand to the underside of your head, and slowly press your head back up to neutral. Now remove your block or whatever you might be sitting on, and we're going to first roll down onto our back, lean over to your left side into fetal position, bring your right hand back behind you so the dorsal side of your hand, top side of the hand, is resting between your shoulder blades, your palm is out, and we want to be careful with this, but then what you're going to do is roll back onto your back and essentially sit back onto your arm, which is pinned back behind your body. Obviously, if this gives you intensity in the shoulder or it's not the wisest thing to do for your shoulder, elbow, or wrist, avoid this. But if it feels okay, let's hang out right here for a couple of breaths. Just give yourself a chance to open up your shoulder for a couple of deep inhales and exhales. Kind of giving our body a little bit of vocabulary for what we want it to do. And by vocabulary, I'm talking about just sort of some definitions of how your body can move and what it feels like to open up shoulders in this way, etc. Okay, so you're going to roll back over to left side and remove your right arm. Same thing on the other side. So you're going to roll over to your right side, bring your left hand behind you, and palm down toward the mat as you come back to lying down on your back. Now, your elbow is sort of pointing downward, shoulder blades sort of pulling into middle, and then your lower back is also kind of drawing down toward the floor. So we've got this shoulder opener, kind of a spine neutralizer, opening up, feels good. And then when you've had a good run with this, you're going to roll back over to the right side. Release your arm as you come back upright. Let's come to a seated position again. But instead of seated position, if it works for you, I invite you to come into Viraj Asana, which is like just a kneeling position. If your knees or hips don't like that and you have a cushion or a block, you can also hang out here on a cushion or a block. So I'm getting a little stretch to the tops of my feet, my shins. Open your arms wide. Inhale, raise your hands toward the ceiling. And as you exhale, bring your hands back to heart. And if you want to join me, we'll officially start our practice with 3 ohms. Let's breathe in. With your hands on your knees, roll your shoulders back and arch your back a little bit. Lift your chin up. As you exhale, roll your shoulders forward and round your back. Root your tailbone down into the floor. Inhale, open your heart, lift your chin, and exhale, drop your chin as you roll your shoulders forward. Now, as we go through our practice today, we're going to figure out how we can leverage the muscles of our head and neck, not only to support them as they stretch, but how to use them to help open up our hearts as well, as we practice sort of getting up out of technology and start to live forward from our heart. That's kind of what I'm thinking for our practice today. Now, this is kind of a funky image, but imagine you had a hula hoop around your chest and you're going to try to move your chest around in circles to make this thing happen, right? It might give you a brain aneurysm as you try to figure out how to make this work. But your shoulders and neck are going to move some, your hips and legs are going to move some, but really see if you can focus on your chest, getting your upper back to be as mobile as possible. Have you ever tried to do that? Have you ever tried to do a hula hoop through different parts of your body? You know, hips are easiest, and yet you can do this with your trunk. You can bring the hula hoop up and down your body and stuff like that. I say that it's possible, not that I can do it, right? There are people who are extremely good at the hula hoop. I am not one of those people, but nonetheless, the principle applies. Try to get some mobility through the trunk. All right, so let's come now to the front part of our yoga mat, and I invite you to put your right foot in front, left leg back. This is a high lunge position, designated from a low lunge with your knee to the floor. So in a high lunge position, you're simply going to inhale, look forward to your hand, look forward toward the front of the room. Exhale, straighten up your right leg a little for a little bit of a stretch. Inhale as you bend your front knee again and look forward. And exhale, straighten it out a little bit. Okay, I'm going for just the beginnings of a stretch. Nothing really intense. Here I get a little stretch in the groin on the back side, the left side. And then as I straighten my right leg, I'm getting a little hamstring stretch, just back and forth. So we're just kind of putting a little blood flow through these muscles, getting the joints to move. Now from here, I'm going to put my left palm flat to the mat, and I'm going to do a little turn on the pinky toe side of my left foot and pivot on my right heel so that I'm facing this way. My right knee is bent, and I know I'm facing away from the camera, but I'm going to open up in this variation of plank side plank pose, right? A couple rounds of deep breath here. When you've had a couple rounds of deep breath, drop your right arm so it's parallel to the floor. Swing it back to the left, and as you do so, you're going to turn and change position so that your right leg stays straight, your left toes are on the floor, and all 10 toes are facing straight forward into this Skandasana. Now, there's a couple versions of this pose. I'm going to call this Skandasana A, where all the 10 toes face forward and both feet are flat to the floor. And I get a great stretch here through the inside of the thigh. Okay. Now, Skandasana B is where you drop your left hip down to the floor and pivot so that your right heel is touching the floor and your toes are up toward the sky. If possible, you can keep your left heel to the floor. And if this is challenging, you can grab a block and just, whoops, that's a little bit too low. Sit back on the block and voila. Okay? Now I get not only a stretch through the inner thigh, but more in the hamstrings here as the leg is externally rotated, toes pointing up toward the ceiling. Okay? So going slowly through some of these poses, and then we're going to put them together in a little bit of a flow. Okay? So you're going to maybe carry your block with you if you want it, and we're going to slowly move back first to the front of our yoga mat. Plant your palms, come to a plank position, and lower slowly to Chaturanga, Cobra, or an up dog position. Hopefully that feels as amazing on your back as it feels on my back. Lovely. And lift back into downward facing dog. Now, first down dog of the day, try bending your knees a little bit, lifting your tailbone, and let your head relax in between your biceps. Even if you're like sponsored by the World Federation of Downward Facing Dog, you're going to keep your knees bent here. Draw your tailbone under just a little bit. I really want to emphasize the flat shoulders and spine, straight arms business part of this pose. Looking forward to your hands. Inhale, step your left foot forward between your hands. Your left foot is sort of in line with your left thumb. Inhale in this high lunge pose as you look forward, and exhale, begin to straighten your left leg a little bit. Inhale as your front knee bends some, looking forward, and then exhale, straighten it out. Employ your Ujjayi breath here. Nothing really intense. We're just kind of getting the parts to move. Again, adding sort of a somatic vocabulary to what we're going to be doing today through our practice. Plant your right palm down to the mat. Pivot on your left heel and turn to the pinky toe side of your right foot. So all 10 toes are facing toward the left side as your left arm reaches toward the ceiling. Lift your left hip up high toward the sky. I even get a little stretch here on the outside of my left hip. Chest opens up. Then your left arm goes parallel to the floor as it turns to the right, and I'm going to bend my right knee as my left leg goes straight. I know I'm facing behind you, but at least you get to see sort of what's going on the back side of this pose. And if it feels good here, grab a block or something, and I'm going to hang out here in normal Skandasana A for a couple of breaths, and if it feels good, then pivot on my left heel, perhaps grabbing a block to sit down on. I'm more interested in the stretch here in this pose than I am the balance of hanging on this foot. A couple of deep breaths here. And then when I've had a good run, I'm going to ease my way back to the front of my yoga mat, plant my palms, move into plank pose as I lower down slowly to Chaturanga. Cobra or an upward facing dog, inhale, and downward facing dog, exhale. Give yourself a couple rounds of full deep breath here. Now, as you inhale, raise your right leg in the air. Exhale, pull your right knee to your chest. Step your right big toe near your right thumb. And you're going to inhale, look forward like we've been doing. Exhale, straighten your right leg like we've been doing. Inhale, bend your knee. Exhale, straighten it out. Inhale, bend your knee, look forward. And exhale, straighten it out. Now we're going to go a little bit quicker. As you inhale, reach your right arm forward and turn to the right into this variation of side plank position. The next time you exhale, swing your right arm to the left. Move into Skandasana, A or B, but we're not going to hang out here long. And then walk your hands back to the front of your yoga mat. Slide back to plank, and let's move through Chaturanga. Cobra, maybe an upward facing dog. Maybe we'll save up dog for a little bit later. Down dog as you exhale. Lefty lifts on the inhale. A little bend in the right knee. Step your left foot forward between hands, closer toward your left thumb. And 3 of these back and forth. So inhale, look forward. Left knee is bent at a right angle. Exhale, straighten your left leg as much as is comfortable. Nothing too intense. Inhale, bend the knee, look forward. And exhale, straighten it out. And inhale. And exhale. Now this time as you inhale, you're in a high lunge. Also reach your left arm forward and turn to your left. Raise your left arm to the sky. A breath or so before your left arm swings around to Skandasana, facing, this way. And then walk your hands back to the front of your yoga mat. Slide from plank to Chaturanga. Cobra or upward facing dog on your inhale. And downward facing dog on your exhale. A couple of long breaths in downward facing dog. Now, as your body gets warmer, feel free to begin to straighten your legs in downward facing dog to the point where you feel a comfortable stretch, but not too much. That could mean that your knees stay a little bit bent the whole time. Now, as you inhale, raise your right leg up in the air. Step your right foot forward between your hands. Same thing. We're going to inhale, open up into our variation of side plank. Exhale, switch into Skandasana just for a breath. Inhale, back to high lunge. Okay, plank position, hold that for a sec. And on your next exhale, Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog position. Downward facing dog. Inhale, lefty lifts in the air. Step left foot toward left thumb. Exhale. Inhale, back into our side plank variation. Exhale into Skandasana. Inhale back into high lunge. Exhale, plank. Let's inhale once. And exhale, Chaturanga. Cobra or an up dog position. Inhale. And exhale, downward facing dog. Bending your knees a bit. Inhale, step, hop, or walk feet to hands. And with fingertips on the floor or hands on a block, it's up to you. You're going to inhale and bend your knees so that your hips come about as low as your knees. Look forward. Pull your shoulder blades together. And exhale, straighten your legs a little. Fold forward. Round your back. Inhale, bend your knees and look forward. And exhale, straighten up, fold forward. Back and forth. And with a little teeny bend in your knees, open your arms like wings, stand all the way up, reach toward the ceiling. And as you exhale, bring your hands together, back to heart. Okay, so this part of our practice, we've done a nice slow warm up, and now we're going to start our sun salutations. I want to do 5 sun salutations A, okay? And I'm going to lead us through all of these, and if you want to just go on your own pace, that's great here. So we have a little bit of level of improvisational yoga. So if you know your way through sun salutations or want to create some variations, great, take 5, and we'll meet you there, in our standing Samastiti pose at the front of your mat at the end of all of those. Okay, so if you want to follow me, step to the front part of your yoga mat, raise your arms to the sky, inhale. As you exhale, open your arms like wings, slowly fold forward, come into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, come to a flat spine, and as you exhale, step back and lower down Chaturanga. Roll through Cobra or an up dog position on your inhale, and lift back to downward facing dog. Exhale, 4 or 5 breaths. Knees are a little bit bent or they're straight. Just depends on what your body feels like is right for you today. When you've had your 4 or 5 breaths, I invite you to inhale as you bend your knees and look to hands. Hop, step, walk your feet to hands. Inhale to a flat spine. Fold forward on your exhale, using a little core strength. Support yourself as you stand all the way up. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale, Samasthiti, hands back to heart. Here we go again, number 2. Raise your arms to the sky. Exhale, dive forward. Flat spine, breathe in. Step or float, Chaturanga Dandasana. Cobra or an up dog, inhale. And downward facing dog, exhale. I'm a big proponent of the warm-up. I just think it sets ourselves up to get into the flow. And when the energy's flowing, these poses feel almost effortless. When we're pushing too hard, too quick, it feels like we're constantly pushing up a hill. We're back into that no pain, no gain attitude. And, that whole attitude kind of went out sometime in the 80s, right? So this is instead of mind over matter, it's mindfulness with matter. Let's see if we can kind of take that adage instead. Bend your knees, look forward to your hands. Hop, walk, or step feet to hands. Inhale to a flat spine. Fold forward again on your exhale and stand all the way back up. Inhale, reach to the sky. And hands back to heart. Here goes number 3. Raise your arms to the sky. Fold forward, exhale. Flat spine, breathe in. Step, hop, or float, Chaturanga, Cobra or upward facing dog, and let's meet back in down dog. Bend your knees, look forward to your hands, hop, step, or walk, feet to hands. Inhale to a flat spine. Fold forward, exhale, and stand all the way back up. Inhale. Hands back to heart, exhale. Number 4, here we go. Inhale. Fold forward, exhale. Flat spine, breathe in. Step or float, Chaturanga. Cobra or upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Bend your knees, look forward to hands. Step, hop, or walk, feet to hands. Flat spine, inhale. Fold forward, exhale. Send all the way up. Inhale, last sun salutation. Either you're on your own, doing your own thing, or you're following me. We're going to reach up. Inhale, fold forward, exhale. Flat spine, inhale, step or float, Chaturanga. Exhale. Cobra or up dog, inhale. For downward facing dog, exhale. And bend your knees, look forward to hands. Hop or walk, feet to hands. Flat spine, breathe in. Fold forward, exhale. And stand all the way up. Breathe in. Hands to heart, exhale for a couple rounds of Ujjayi breath. Take a moment and just notice how you feel so far in your yoga practice, right? How the energy's starting to move, your body's starting to open up here a little bit, okay? And now we're gonna move into the next phase of our practice. And the first pose in this next phase is Utkatasana, chair pose, okay? So bend your knees, comfortable distance, meaning your feet are about hip bone distance apart or they're together, it's up to you. But today in our pose, I wanna do one of two things. Either bend your elbows at right angles, open up your chest, right? And tilt your head back slightly. Or for a little bit more intensity, put your hands together, bring the knuckles of your thumbs behind the base of your skull, point your elbows to the sky, and pull your head back into your hands. Either way, your chest is gonna open up a little bit more. So we're using this leverage of the head pulling back in the hands, complemented by drawing your tailbone slightly down to the floor. So you get a little bit of abdominal support, lengthening the lower back as you open up through the upper back. If you're super hardcore, you can lift your heels up off the ground. And if you get up there and realize that way too much hardcoreness, way too hardcore, then bring it back down, whatever. Either way, you're gonna straighten your legs now and kind of karate chop your way forward into forward fold. Let's hang out here. Nice counter pose after that. Standing back bend. Spinal extension, meaning kind of the back bend quality action of the spine. Now, plant your palms, step or float, Chaturanga. Move into Cobra or Up Dog. Inhale. And back to Downward Facing Dog. Raise your right leg in the air, a little bend in the left knee. Step your right foot forward towards your right thumb. Exhale. Now, as you inhale, reach your right arm toward the sky. Left hand stays on the floor, but it's light. You could even pull your left hand off the floor if you wanted to. It's there for support. It's not holding all of your weight. As you inhale, you're going to reach your left arm straight forward and your right arm straight back in a standing twist. Mindful to lift your left hip and pull your left ribs forward as you do a standing twist. The next time you inhale, pull your palms together facing straight forward. Bend your front knee a little bit deeper. The next time you inhale, bend your left knee almost down to the floor for a couple more breaths. Squeeze like you're trying to pull your feet together. Use your inner thigh strength as support to give you a lift through the middle of your body. Last breath here. And as you exhale, plant your palms to the floor. Either go straight into Downward Facing Dog pose or roll through a vinyasa. That is to say, Chaturanga, Upward Facing Dog, and Downward Facing Dog. A couple long breaths here in Down Dog. Raise your left leg in the air on an inhale. A little bend in your right knee as you step your left foot to left thumb. Find yourself first in this high lunge position. Keep your right fingertips on the floor and twist so that your left arm reaches up toward the sky. Again, you're using core strength and leg strength mostly to hold yourself here. And then you're going to float right arm forward, left arm back into a standing twist position, looking toward your left arm. Reach your right arm forward, lift up through Uddiyana Bandha. And then hands come together as you point straight forward into this standing lunge position. Build a little strength on the front leg, a little stretch in the groin on the back leg. And then bend your right knee so it almost comes to the floor for a little bit of whatever this is, strengthening, stretching, and then exhale, hands to the floor. Your choice. Straight to Down Dog or move through a vinyasa. Either way, let's meet in downward facing dog for 5 or 6 long breaths. Now let's put those poses together in a little bit of a flow. Okay? So inhale, raise your right leg in the air, a little bend in the left knee. Exhale, step your right foot forward between hands. Inhale, reach your right arm to the sky. Exhale, hold the pose. Inhale, move into standing twist position. Exhale, swing your hands together, pointing straight forward. Inhale, bend your left knee almost to the floor. And exhale, hands to the ground, step back, either straight to down dog or move through a vinyasa. Recovery breath here in downward facing dog. Raise left knee in the air, inhale. Step it forward between the hands, exhale. Inhale, twisting crescent position. Exhale, hold the pose. Inhale to your standing twist. Exhale, swing your hands together, pointing forward. Inhale, bend your back knee almost to the floor. And exhale, plant to the ground. Either vinyasa or downward facing dog. Either way, we all meet back in down dog. Same thing. Here we go again. Right leg lifts. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward. Inhale, raise your right arm to the sky. Exhale, hold the pose. Inhale to a standing twist. Exhale, hands point straight forward. Crescent lunge variation. Inhale, bend your left knee almost to the floor. And exhale, chaturanga or downward facing dog. Lefty lifts, inhale, forward between the hands, exhale. Inhale, left arm to the sky in a twist. Hold the pose on the exhale. Standing twist, inhale, hands together, exhale. Inhale, right knee bends almost to the floor. Exhale, hands to the ground for a vinyasa. Couple rounds of Ujjayi breath here. Let's take our first child's pose. Knees to the ground, kind of wide. Bring your toes together. Relax. Come back to hands and knees pose. Inhale, as you exhale, lift back into downward facing dog. This time, raise your right arm to the right leg to the sky. Bend your knee and open it upward toward the ceiling. And then if your left shoulder is comfortable doing this, you're going to roll to the outside edge of your left pinky toe and put your right big toe to the floor behind you. Your left leg is still straight. Your right knee is bent. Your right arm's going to reach up over, cross your temple. Bend your right elbow as you rest the crown of your head or the back of your head in your hand, and you're going to pull your head into your hand as your right elbow points to the front of the room and your right hip lifts up to the sky. I get a little stretch in the groin on the right side and the quad, little heart opener, arm balance, back bend. Now I'm going to release my right hand back to the floor, flip back over, and step right foot forward between hands as I now open to Warrior Two pose. We're going to go for a little bit of a lateral bend through the body. So this is reverse warrior. Right hand to hip, push down. Left arm goes to the sky, up. Bend your right hand back behind your head and pull your head into your hand. Bend your front knee even deeper. You could go deeper with the lateral bend with your left hand sliding down your thigh. You could go more for shoulder as you put your left hand up on your right elbow. Or even wrap your left hand behind your body, holding on the inside of your right thigh. come back through Warrior Two pose. As you straighten your right leg, lean forward toward a triangle. I love triangle with a block. Now, a little bit different form of triangle. You're going to extend your left arm across your temple. Find the stretch maybe through the left side of your ribs. And as you do so, externally rotate your left arm, so left palm open, or left thumb toward the sky, left pinky toward the floor. Palm faces toward the wall behind you, and then bend your left elbow as your hand holds the back of your head. Pull your head into your hand as your elbow points to the front of the room, toward me probably, your hip toward the back of the room. And in so doing, I get this great stretch running down the backside of my body. I do a little lift in the pubic bone, sort of commensurate with how we've been holding our practice. Head leveraging the heart forward, but not at the expense of the lower back. So a little draw down on the tailbone. Good, back to Warrior Two. As you exhale, set your hands back to the floor and take it back straight to downward facing dog or move through a vinyasa. Left leg lifts in the air on the inhale. Step forward between your hands on the exhale. Okay? And then we're going to, let's see, how do we get on the other side? We went to our variation of our side plank pose. Oh, actually, no, we went from downward facing dog, excuse me. So let's find our way back to downward facing dog pose. Left leg lifts up in the air. We could have gotten there the other way too, and we will. But we're going to go like this first. Bend your left knee open to the sky. And now you could hang here. Otherwise, you're going to pivot to the outside of your right pinky toe. Right leg is straight. Left knee is bent. Left arm comes up across your temple. Bend your left elbow as you cradle the back of your head in your hand. And then lift up. Use your head pulling back into your hand to open up your chest. And then feel your tailbone get long toward your right heel. Now, flip back over slowly, step your left foot forward between hands, and move back into Warrior Two pose. Okay, so I'm going to turn around just so I can face you. Here in Warrior Two, we're going to move to reverse warrior, so right hand to hip. Left hand goes to the sky, leaning back, and again, cradle the back of your head in your hand. As your head pulls into your hand, your elbow reaches to the sky. This could be perfect. Maybe slide your right hand down your thigh. Personalize this pose. Right hand up to elbow or wrapped behind your body. Head pulls back into your hand. Tailbone grows long toward the floor. Last breath here, bend your front knee a little bit deeper. And as you exhale, come back through Warrior Two. Prepare for triangles. You straighten out, lean forward. Again, I'm going to grab my block. Hand to block or the floor, the shin or whatever. Send your right arm across your temple, bend the elbow. With your head cradled in your hand, pull your head back as your elbow points toward the front of the room. Right hip pulls to the back of the room. Head pulls back into your hand, and do a little lift of pubic bone toward navel. Move back into Warrior Two, and as you exhale, make your way back into either downward facing dog pose or move through a vinyasa. Okay, so we're going to put some things together here. This will kind of be our apex part of our practice. You're going to inhale, raise your right leg in the air. Bend your knee, open it toward the sky. And then exhale, step your right foot forward toward your right thumb. Reach your right arm forward, open up to the right into our side plank variation. And then from here, step your right foot back behind you, back into our Kamatkarasana, or wild thing pose. Head pulls back. Open up your chest a little bit more. You might even place both feet to the floor in like a tabletop with your head resting in your hand. Now we're going to go all the way to our high lunge. So straighten your left leg again. Place your right palm down to the floor. Step your right foot forward between your hands and then walk to the left into Skandasana. Because we're opening up our shoulders today, you might even bring your left forearm in front of your left shin and wrap your right arm behind you for a bind. Unwind this, walk your hands back to the front of your yoga mat. And for a bonus pose, if you want to, swing your left elbow underneath and move either forward toward twig pose or begin to straighten your right leg as you move into Kundanasana. Sooner or later, let's meet our way back through Vinyasa or straight to downward facing dog. How'd it work, everybody? Let's rock and roll through this left side. Left head leg lifts in the air. Left knee bends open toward the sky. Step lefty forward between the hands. Left arm reaches forward to the left. Open up into your variation of side plank. As you bring your left foot back behind for Kamatkarasana, Wild Thing pose, and cradle the back of your head in your hand. Maybe switch to this high tabletop with your head in your hand. Charge your feet down to the floor. Keep your feet about hip bone distance apart. And then straighten your right leg, pinky toe side. Step back over into your lunge on your way to Skandasana on the right side. And if the bind works for you, great. We're going to make our way back to the front of our yoga mat for downward facing dog pose and or vinyasa. Nicely done. Find your way back into a child's pose. So I want to do a little bit of an inversion here for a moment, and inversion can mean a lot of different things. If you're working on handstands, great, work in the handstands. You might choose the sort of knee to chest, right leg in the air version of handstand. Sort of using your head to arch your upper back as you find a way to hold this position. Okay? If for inversion, you want to take it really easy, maybe lie down on your back, put something underneath your sacrum, and lift your legs in the air. For Viparita Karani, or legs at the wall. If you want to actually use the wall, then what I would do is come proximal to the wall, lay down like in a fetal position, and then roll up with your legs up against the wall. Okay, so we're just messing around here, doing whatever feels good for a couple of rounds of breath. Now, you can use the wall for our handstand if that's in your practice. What you do is you kind of come a little bit further away from the wall. So I'm about, 3 feet away from the wall. And then from a down dog, I'm going to lift up, find the wall, push into the floor, and let my back arch before I kind of find some freedom from the wall. So whatever floats your boat, give yourself a moment for some inversions. And then when you feel complete with those, maybe the next 5 or 6 breaths, we're all going to meet to a position where we're lying down on our back. Take your time to get here. We're in no rush. And when you do come down, I invite you to rest for a moment with your hands on your belly, knees bent. Now we're going to prepare ourselves for some form of a back bend. A back bend could be as easy as a supported bridge pose, where I'm going to keep my feet about as wide as my hips, lift said hips in the air as I walk my shoulder blades together, and just rest here with a cushion, a block, a rolled up towel, something underneath your sacrum. It doesn't even have to be that high. But your chest is open and you're going to rest. As you do so, you're doing a gentle press, not very hard at all, gentle press of the back of your head to the floor as your shoulder blades come together, and think of your tailbone long. Option 2 might be to ditch the block and come into full Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, or shoulder stand bridge pose, as you interlace your fingers underneath your body and continue to pull gently the back of your head to the floor. It corrects the curvature of the back of your neck as your hips lift up in the air. If full wheel pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana, is in your repertoire, and that would feel good for you today, then move up into full wheel pose by bringing your hands up by your shoulders. Bend your shoulders by walking them together and kind of pointing your fingers off to one side. And even if you do this in another way, try this today. Come up onto the top of your head. Walk your hands back underneath your shoulders again. Pull the elbows toward one another and use your legs to begin to open up your upper back. Then press straight into the floor for a good back bend. Whichever pose you're in, you know when the love is gone, and we will come back out. If you're in a supported bridge pose, you might stay there for a while. Now neutralize for a second. As you come back to lying on your back, knees are bent, back is flat. Just take a couple rounds of deep breath. And then we'll counter with a happy baby pose. Thigh bones move toward your rib cage. Knees wide, reach up, grab the outsides of your feet. Pull your knees down toward your armpits. Press your feet up into your hands and take deep breaths. Send your breath down into your pelvis. Bring your knees together. Make slow circles in the air with your knees. Massage your back into the floor. Roll over to one side. Come up right to a seated position. On your way to Viraj Asana again. So this kneeling position here. We're giving ourselves a little stretch through the tops of the shins, sitting back on your heels. Now, if this does not work for your ankles, your hips, or your knees, grab something to sit on, and it can be high, it can be low, but this could help a lot, okay? Now, if it feels good, we're gonna start to move a little bit toward Virasana, or hero's pose. And you could hang here with your shins flat. I'm still elevated a little bit. I've just got a little bit more space between the knees. Or I'm going to start to drop my support down a level so that my hips are coming now down in between my heels. The other thing that works for me is I kind of need to pull my calf muscles out of the way as I start to work further and further here. Now, I have some sensitive knees, so I want to be careful with these. And for me, it feels like the more often I can slow motion make my way in here, the more my knees are like, this is no big deal at all, okay? And I think because we've done a lot of heart openers today, my quads have been stretched. This is actually feeling really good for me. And normally it's fairly difficult for my hips to come all the way to the floor here, but I think because of all the prep work we did, for me anyway, this is feeling really good. Okay, so just a couple of breaths here in Virasana as I maintain the slow Ujjayi breath. Now for me, I think the greatest sort of like your peanut butter met my chocolate moment after this pose is coming into downward facing dog after. So like down dog is like the perfect chocolate counter pose to the delicious peanut butter that is Virasana, right? So when you feel complete here, ease you out of this thing and curl your toes under and lift gently back into a downward facing dog pose. Yeah. You know what blues face is? Blues face is like when a piece of music, like blues, is so good that it like gives you like this stank face. We want all of our poses to give us like blues face, like, that was good. Okay, open your arms wide like wings. Now, I'm still in sort of Virasana or Viraj Asana, right? But I'm also sitting up on a block, so this is a lot easier for me now, but it feels good. Because I want to focus now on the upper back. Open arms wide. You're going to swing your right arm on bottom, left arm on top into eagle arms, lifting your elbows up off your chest. Press your forearms away from your nose. And then do a slow motion turn of your head side to side. Feels really good for my upper traps, really great for the neck. Now I want to revisit this thing. You're going to release this, swing your arms wide, send your right arm up around behind the left side of your head, and you're holding onto that spot again. My middle finger is right in this little divot behind this bony protuberance in my left ear. Head pulls back, left arm reaches. I can almost touch the mat, but not quite. And I'm letting my left shoulder relax as much as I can to get a little stretch down through these side neck muscles, the scalenes, the SEM muscle, and this upper trapezius, all of which can garner a lot of tension. Now, head stays where it is. Slide your right hand to the underside of your head and gently press it back to neutral. Arms open up like wings as you go into eagle arms on this side. So left elbow on bottom, right elbow on top. Let the elbows lift. Press your forearms away from your nose. I like a little turn side to side in my head. That feels really nice here. Release, arms wide. Send your left hand just behind the right ear and then reach your right arm off down to the floor. Press your head gently back into your hand. That's the whole this thing we've been working on all class. Head pulls back, your heart comes forward, and then draw your sitting bones down into the floor. Again, we're educating the openness in the upper part of the thoracic spine, our heart area, giving a little bit of energy for this anahata chakra, this heart area, and learning to strengthen our neck as we open our heart, right? It's the perfect antithesis of this, right? Collapse through our heart, relax through the neck. We're doing this instead, okay? Beautiful, everybody. So invite you to find yourself into a seated position. Ardha Matsyendrasana. Bend your right knee like so. Put your left ankle over your right thigh. Twist so that your right elbow moves to the outside of your left thigh. Sit up nice and straight, but then turn your head past your right shoulder. Do a little lift of your chin as your head tilts back a little bit. So we've got a counter twist happening as the head pulls away from the direction the trunk is moving. Work on dropping your left shoulder down. Release this thing, and let's do a little switch. As your elbow moves to the outside, left elbow moves to the outside of right thigh. Push down with your right arm so you're getting nice and straight. Turn your head in the opposite direction. This feels amazing. P.S. I hope you're feeling amazing. Now tilt your head back a little bit. Same thing we've been working on. Not so much you just totally blow out through the energy of your throat, but just a little lift to kind of open up this Vishuddha chakra. So throat is open, heart is open, third eye center, everything's open, right? Really bringing some energy to the upper part of our chakra system here. Now, I want to rest here for a moment, but before we do so, let's do a little breathing exercise, and then we'll get into Shavasana. So come to a comfortable seated pose, whatever that looks like for you. And then let's just do a little balancing breath with some Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breath, okay? So bring your right hand, palm facing toward you, and you're going to descend your index finger and middle finger, so you have sort of the thumb and fourth and fifth finger extended, kind of like a hang loose sign with an extra Vulcan fourth finger in the mix, right? Okay, so it's like live long and prosperous variation turned back on yourself. You're giving yourself some long and prosperity, whatever. Okay, I'm over it. Now, your right nostril, you're going to cover your right nostril with your right thumb, and you're going to blow out just through the left nostril. And then you're going to breathe in through the left nostril and switch so that the pad of your fourth and fifth finger close off your left nostril as you breathe out just through the right nostril. And then you breathe in just through the right nostril, switch so the thumb is on your nostril, and you're breathing out, and then we're going to alternate like this, okay? So start with your right thumb against your right nostril, breathe out through the left nostril, nice and soft through the jaw. Breathe in through left nostril. Now switch so that your fourth and fifth finger are closing left nostril, breathe out just through right. In through right. Close right, breathe out through left. In through left. Out through right. In through right. Now you're doing this back and forth, nice and slowly. As an alternative to this, you could extend your index finger and middle finger and place that on Ajna chakra, on this third eye center. It will help kind of bring the energy upward, if that's what you choose to do, from heart, we've been working on, throat, as we've been working on, to the next energy center right here in Ajna chakra, or third eye center. Now, this breathing practice has the power to balance our male energy and female energy, our yielding side and our power side, the light side and dark side. Now, we all have both of these, and we will work in our greatest harmony as these two sides can be balanced. So before we take Shavasana, we're just taking a few moments to balance these one to the other. When you feel like both sides are balanced, then pause for a moment in this seated position. So sometimes we love the way we feel here in this moment, and we don't want to come to Shavasana because that might bring our energy too low. And it might feel like the perfect end of your practice to do a seated meditation instead. Otherwise, I would encourage you to lie down on your back, and let's come to Shavasana, the last pose. I'm going to play some music during Shavasana. And so I brought my clarinet, and the idea here is the clarinet, the music is neither good or bad, it's neither right or wrong. This is just something interesting that you get a chance to practice paying attention to. Okay, so let yourself go, send a sigh out your mouth, and just let the music sort of evoke whatever it's going to evoke. Thoughts, emotions, sensations. Your job is to just simply notice, simply to let it arise, and then just move along your way. Now, one of the greatest things about doing practice at home is you could extend your Shavasana for as long as you want. But I'm going to ring the bell. I'll signal the end of this part of our practice. Roll over to one side and make your way upright to a seated pose. Raise your arms toward the sky, a big inhale. With your hands together, back to heart. Thanks for a great class. Let's finish with one Om together. Inhale. Thanks, everybody. Namaste.